Good morning and welcome to Having a Drink with Breakfast. Yeah, that's right. We're doing a little bit of a mashup kind of a thing today here. I can't do your normal comics for breakfast because my microphone completely shit the bed. The damn thing broke and the new one hasn't arrived yet, but I didn't want to leave you hanging and gosh knows, I wanted to enjoy this beverage. So I figured we combined our forces and, we'll get together. We're going to look at some Treasury comics today. That's right, Treasuries, Oversized Editions, Tabloids, whatever you want to call these books, chances are you have an opinion on them. Now, some folks frown upon them. Others, like me, remember them fondly. And while most associate these books with the 1970s, it turns out that big comics have been around a lot longer than that. Indeed, we can go back to 1935 and DC Comics' New Fun #1 to find the first big comic. The intention was to emulate the Sunday funnies popular in newspapers at the time. And while publishers continued to experiment with the large-scale format for decades, it wasn't until the 1970s that the concept really caught on. Now, this is my first large-scale comic as far as it goes. A kid down the street from me had a copy of this, and I thought it was the coolest book in the world. While in 1975, Spidey was having some fantastic adventures. To be able to harken back to some stories from just a few years before, but what would now be considered the golden age of Spidey, well, it was a fantastic opportunity. And this book provides the chance for young readers like myself to revisit Amazing Spider-Man Annual #1 featuring the Sinister Six. And I've always loved this story, and as a kid, to be able to experience it in this large-scale format was just phenomenal. It changed my view of comics forever. Check that out. Back in the day. But nonetheless, to be able to see artwork like this at this size, to be able to experience the scope and energy of a story this massive was truly significant to me as a young person. And what can I say? The kid down the street, I would often go and pester him. It was his older brother who had a copy of this, and I would just kind of hang around in the hopes that I could say, "Hey, Alan, can I look at that Spider-Man comic?" And this isn't his copy, obviously. This is mine. I picked it up a few years ago, but I figure it's the best place to start. But as far as it goes in the 1970s, as far as tabloid edition comics go, few were bigger than Star Wars. Now, I got my copy of the Star Wars, what was this, the Marvel Special Edition. I got my copy at Sears because that's where my parents bought everything, and it was pretty cool to be able to get this book. Marvel had initially put Star Wars out in a 6-issue sort of series, and then after that they started doing original tales, but this fantastic Treasury features all 6 of those stories, and it's pretty dynamite with magnificent Howard Chaykin artwork. My copy is a little chewed up, but what are you gonna do? You gotta appreciate it just for what it is, folks. Then we have Batman First Edition. Now, I remember a friend of mine had a copy of this as a kid, and I was completely captivated. It less so because of what it was, but what it appeared to be. And you open it up, and you've got this fantastic reproduction of Batman #1, and it really, for all the world, feels like you're reading that original comic. It's a wonderful reproduction of that book, and we've got nifty pinup in the back. Very cool. Now, as far as it goes, I didn't really collect tabloids in my teens and early 20s. My focus on comics was, I was focused on comics. Not weird oversized books, but come convention time a little bit later on, I stumbled across a copy of this, and it got me remembering that old Spidey book of yore, and this is very cool. This reprints some Spider-Man Marvel team-up issues. We've got Spidey meets the X-Men, Iron Fist, Werewolf by Night, and Ghost Rider. And even cooler, check out this back cover. Gotta love that. How cool is that? So, gosh, I guess I was in my early 20s, and, you know, I had a few big books lying around, but hadn't really started collecting them in earnest. Happened to stop by this place that used to be a comic book shop, but they had closed. But someone had rented the place out for the weekend, oddly enough, and they had it stacked to the gills with all sorts of weird, remaindered kind of items, and there were a whole mess of comic books in there. And I found a copy of 2001, A Space Odyssey, a really nice copy. Found that waiting for me right there, and this was $1, as well as Captain America's Bicentennial Battles, and I remember this one from being a kid as well. I'm not quite sure if I had a copy of it, but gosh, these images sure are burned into my brain. You know, I can look at this book and I feel very familiar sensations, you know, just thinking about, you know, those Kirby faces. And after that, I really started going for the large-scale Treasury edition books in earnest. This was the next one that I picked up. This was one I was heavy into action figures, and I was at a toy show, and you know, I picked up this and that here and there, but I saw this book, and I thought, you know what, something about these. You just got to get into them. And this is very interesting because it reprints some more off-the-wall stories. We have stories like Spider-Man Tackles the Torch, The Birth of a Superhero, Rocked by the Shocker, and Death Shall Come by no less than Gil Kane, John Buscema, and Steve Ditko. And as always, with these treasuries, you got lots of neat little additions, fun little pinups, stuff like this. Now, you would have enjoyed those pinups back in the day in the back of your regular comic books, but to be able to see them all big like this, well, what fun. And next up, this was #1 as far as the Marvel Treasury Edition goes. I think that maybe they had dribbled at a few here and there beforehand, but this is for sure their #1 Treasury Edition. And following that up, this is #2 featuring the Fantastic Four. And this has some great Stan Lee, Jack Kirby stories in it. Lots of great stuff in here, including a detailed view of the Baxter Building for those of you playing along at home. Even better, we have Hulk on the Rampage. Now, I remember seeing this one advertised in comics as a kid, really being blown away by that cover, and fantastic back cover as well. And all these Marvel Treasuries, they reprint stories. You know, there's nothing new in these books so far. Later on, Marvel would produce some books that specifically had new stories in them, but up to this point, you know, we were enjoying old Hulk stories that were, you know, carried over from his title, or even Tales to Astonish later on. And following up on that, we have some Doctor Strange. Now, I picked this book up a while ago, and I was really hoping that it would be chock full of Steve Ditko. There's only 1 or 2 Ditko stories in here, but there are lots of cool stories from later creators, and lots of phenomenal artwork that otherwise, you know, I might have missed. So, can't say enough about these Treasury editions, just because you never really know what you're going to find inside. gosh knows. And following that up, well, my favorite team as a teenager, the Avengers. And this is a pretty cool book. It reprints. What do we have on the inside here? Death calls for the arch-heroes. Behold the vision, till death do us part, which is the second half of the Yellow Jacket Wasp marriage. And come on in, the revolution's fine, followed by Avengers Assemble. And check out that fantastic contents page. There they are, the Avengers welcoming you into their world. And this is a fun little Kirby backsplash right here. And what's very curious about this is you got your Yellow Jacket and your Giant Man. What's going on in there? We're dealing with some alternate world kind of stuff. Who can say? Next up we have your giant superhero team up, and once again more reprints, but some very excellent ones. We've got Thor versus the Hulk, Captain America meets Daredevil, we have Namor the Submariner versus Ben Grimm the Thing, and of course Spidey meets the Silver Surfer. And these are all very cool stories to revisit in big size. And your bonuses here, well, you get some covers, reprints of those covers that otherwise you might not have seen as a young person like myself. But to be able to open a book up like this and to just be able to experience that action and grandeur, you know, it was almost as big as a movie screen. Next up we have the Mighty Thor, and this is number 10 from 1976, and this contains loads of fantastic Jack Kirby stories, including the all-time favorite, Behind Him, Ragnarok, featuring, who's that dude? You know who that dude is. Is that Magog? I think it's Magog. Let me know in the comment section below. And then we have Howard the Duck. Now this book is kind of unique in that it actually featured an original story. It wasn't made up of reprints like many of these other ones, but it has a Defender story in it. 5 villains in search of a plot. And this is a great little story. It's a lot of fun. And the rest of the book is made up of wonderful Howard stories, including my personal favorite, Hell Cow. And we just looked at that a couple weeks back in a Comics for Breakfast, but what a great tale. Let me tell you what, folks. Following that, we're moving on in 1977, and we have the sensational Spider-Man. And you got something like that. I can easily imagine, you know, some kid just deciding this looked cool and tearing it off the back of the book and hanging it up on their wall. You know, I remember myself and my friends would do stuff like that because things like posters weren't readily available at the time. You know, being able to experience that large-scale action, well, it only came in books like this. Even on the television, you know what I mean? It's just like the Spider-Man TV show, it was this big. You know what I mean? And it looked like crap, and he didn't do nothing anyway. But the cool thing about these books is, once again, all the extra features that you get in the Marvel Treasury edition is fantastic. Marie Severin, you know, send up of Spidey, and that's from the What The series. Following that, we have this fantastic Conan the Barbarian, and number 15 of the Special Collector's Edition. Now this features red nails, and the cool thing about this is it actually features a little boobage. Compared to the comics adaptation, I guess they were able to push the envelope a little bit, and so if you want to experience the full red nails in all its glory, you're going to want a copy of this. Check out that fantastic backsplash as well. And following up in the spirit of Conan, because he was super popular at the time, we get another one of these, and that's an absolute beauty. What can you say? Powerful imagery, powerful imagery. And these treasuries never skimped when it came to giving you little extras. Next up, hey, it's Marvel's TV sensation. Are you watching them on the TV? It's Spider-Man. And you may have noticed a bit of a Marvel bias on my part. What can I say? I was a bit of a Marvel zombie as a younger person, and I guess that carries over a bit into my adulthood as well. We have the Giant Superhero Holiday Grab Bag, and this is a book that we'll certainly be looking at in an upcoming Comics for Breakfast. And so that's it for the Marvel Treasury specials, but there were more. They decided to differentiate a little bit here and there. You're going to have your Marvel's Collector Edition. Bear with me. Featuring the Savage Fists of Kung Fu. And what a beautiful presentation this book makes, huh? I wasn't in a position to pick these stories up as a younger person, so to be able to get a massive book like this featuring some of the best stories from the run, well, it was phenomenal. Once again, I know folks, they don't feel very positively about these books. They often feature blotchy reproductions of the artwork. Sometimes they're truncated for space, but to be able to just experience these stories in a cinematic sense, I mean, what can you say? As a little kid, you could sit there and stare at this for hours. Gosh knows. Okay, we're going to move on. We got the Marvel Treasury of Oz. This is another book that I picked up many years ago, back in that Kirby stack. And this has some beautiful artwork. I forget the cat's name. Alfredo Alcada. And I lent this to my stepdaughter, and she trashed it, much to my dismay. But I made it a point to hang on to it because I think this is perhaps one of the pricier Treasury editions, especially, you know, in better condition, but certainly still readable. You know, very cool book. A couple panels that I was looking for in particular. They seem to be eluding me at the moment, but I got stuff like this. Magnificent. Magnificent. And we're going to move on to some DC because, gosh knows, they made comic books too. A lot of these, but most of the ones I have are based on Captain Marvel because he was my favorite DC character when I was growing up, thanks to the television show and the Mego action figure more so than anything. And this is a great book. We get your typical tabletop diorama, and that's pretty cool. Beautiful, what appears to be CC back artwork flying over a city. And you flip it open. Oh, one nice thing about these treasuries was you always got these little biographical blasts. C.C. Beck, the Shazam Man. Even better, I flipped this open earlier, and what did I find? The World's Greatest Family. Ain't that a beauty? Even better. Oh, wow. Didn't even notice that before. But some exceptional Mac Raboy artwork. And we will flip our way through the magazine. I can't seem to find the page I was looking for before. But that's okay. You don't mind, do you so much? There's another one. We got Captain Marvel, another tabletop diorama, and that would look really cool in 3 dimensions. I know that this stuff can actually be found online a lot of the time. Folks have gone to the trouble of scanning these things in 3D so that you can copy them at home, and you can enjoy all your Captain Marvel type entertainment. We've got Shazam on the screen. This is another neat little cinematic featurette. These books were always chock full of entertainment. Oh, boom! Come on, y'all. What can you say? Like I said, I was a huge Captain Marvel fan thanks to the television show. I remember seeing this book advertised in comics and really wanting a copy of it just because I always gravitated towards the live action representation of these characters, and that's pretty phenomenal. Even for today, you know, I'm not really a big fan of the representation of Captain Marvel in, you know, 2020, whatever it is, but to me, this guy right here. And your typical tabletop diorama, and that replicates the cover very nicely. Then we have some wonderful interiors as well. And if you'd like to maybe learn how to draw Captain Marvel, or maybe some of his friends and foes, we can do that for you too. For $1, if you're willing to pop $1, DC, they're going to go all the way. That's right. We looked at this book a few months back. This is Superman versus Shazam, and the Man of Steel against the world's mightiest mortal winners collide! And this was a really good one. I really enjoyed it. It has some fantastic Neil Adams artwork in it. Oh no, I'm sorry. It has some fantastic Rick Buckler and Dick Giordano artwork in it. Edit that out. I don't want to look stupid. Next up we have this, when folks talk about iconic tabloid covers, this one often comes to mind. What kid wouldn't want to go for a ride with Superman? Very cool. You've got your obligatory tabletop diorama featuring your obligatory child and your obligatory Superman flying over your obligatory Statue of Liberty. But don't ever take that for granted, folks. Don't do it. Tell you what, they'll disappear before you know it. Boom! Check that out. It's good stuff, ladies and gentlemen. It's good stuff. Now, I know a lot of folks, they're very obsessed with condition. They want these books in great shape. Well, there aren't a lot of copies left in great shape. And honestly, if you love to read comic books, you can't go wrong picking up reader copies of these, because reader copies are what it's all about. Check that out. You know what I mean? As a young person, this would have gone right up on the wall next to that Spider-Man we talked about earlier. This is an absolute beauty. For $1 or $2 or $3, what you might pay at a con, maybe $5, you get, look at that. We've seen this artwork before, you and I. Yes, we have, absolutely. It's been used for a lot of advertisements and the like. Fantastic stuff, but this book contains, oh yeah, that's right, kids. Accept no substitutes. I found this one fairly recently. This is the Batman All Villains issue, and this was swell fun as well. You're able to replicate the cover in 3 dimensions, featuring Two-Face, the Penguin, Catwoman, and the Joker. And not only can you do that, but you get to enjoy Batman's, wow, televisual villains. Wow, yeah, that's right. And wrapping things up, we have Christmas with the superheroes. Now, we're going to finish on this note because, gosh knows, we're going to look at this in a future Comics for Breakfast, and I certainly hope that you'll join us for one of those. I know this has been a little off the wall. I know it's been a little improvisational, but I didn't want to leave you hanging. I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in. I especially want to thank you folks who were so kind as to cough up a few bucks into the Old Guys Who Like Old Comics tip hat. And that will be able to get us a new microphone in the future. It's on its way, I swear to God. But in the meantime, I'm Jason Mink, and I hope to see you next Sunday at breakfast.